All right, we are learning a lot of new things about this Afghan man who was accused of plotting a terror attack on Election Day. Now we're learning that he had worked actually as a security guard for the CIA while over in Afghanistan. It gets murkier and murkier. Bill Daly, former FBI investigator, trying to connect a lot of disturbing dots. Bill, what are you finding out? What do you think?
Yeah, Neil, certainly very disturbing and concerning. I think concerning on a number of levels, certainly about the immediate threat, but also about kind of the quote vetting that goes on with individuals. Now, I mean, there was kind of a suggestion here that he worked as a security capacity, maybe for the CIA in Afghanistan. Whether or not he knew he was actually working for the CIA at the time, we don't know. And that vetting, as far as a security person, according to some CIA individuals, would be probably at a lower level than one who would be working very closely to them as an asset or some other resource. However, it goes to show, Neil, is that between our immigration system, between people coming over the border, is that we have these individuals in a country, some of them we welcomed in kindly and giving them opportunity, are now turning against us. And certainly an attack on Election Day, overwhelming with the concern of other issues around the election, would be certainly devastating, I think, to our psyche.
What I'm worried about, and you're the expert here, Bill, but was he radicalized here? Was he fine when he was over there, ironically, but radicalized here?
Those are the things they're looking at right now. Certainly, you know, he took that turn while he was here.
Right.
And some of the indictment documents and investigation by the FBI showed that he was actually telling his children, and in a video they had on his phone, the promises of martyrdom and what that holds in store for them. So, you know, we're not too sure when and why and how he became radicalized here. But, you know, unfortunately, it's a trend now in the past several months. Within probably 3 or 4 months, we've had 3 of these incidents. We had an arrest of eight individuals from Tajikistan who were arrested in New York and Pennsylvania on terrorism charges by the Joint Terrorism Task Force. We had an individual who was arrested who was about to come over the border from Canada, who was inspired by ISIS, and he was going to carry out, again, mass murder attacks against Jewish centers here in New York. And then we have this individual. So, in fact, peppered into that is also another individual, a Pakistani individual who was arrested with plots to kill U.S. Government officials, whether they happen to be former, current presidents, vice president, or other people in the cabinet, et cetera. So it goes to show you that we have this issue not just coming from overseas, but certainly internally inside our borders by people who are here.
And it's heightened by these Iranian threats, if they pan out, that they were behind or might be behind future attempts on Donald J. Trump and a host of others who they don't like. And it just sort of ups the heat, right?
It certainly does. And, you know, FBI Director Wray has been emphatic, you know, in his testimony before Congress in recent months about this being one of the most dangerous times that he's seen. Certainly, I would echo those concerns, having been kind of in the security arena for probably over 45 years. And I can also tell you is that in this past month, Neil, we hear these numbers floated around, but to give some perspective, they say within the past fiscal year, there were about 172 people encountered at the border or borders, whether northern and southern border, who are on the terrorism watch list. They also talk about 1.7 million gotaways. So if we start to extrapolate the number of individuals who we've stopped at the border and found on the terrorism watch list, nonetheless to say how many of those individuals who are the quote gotaways could be terrorists planning and coming here to commit some horrendous act.
Scary stuff. Bill, thank you very much for taking the time on a Saturday. Bill Daly.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.